Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating concept called the architecture of action. We're going to break down exactly how true, lasting confidence is actually built from the ground up. You know, if you've ever felt like you're standing on the edge of a high dive, just waiting for that magical feeling of absolute certainty to wash over you before you finally jump, well, this explainer is going to completely change the way you look at taking that leap. We're looking straight at the blueprints of human achievement today, and trust me, it's pretty eye-opening.
I want to ask you a really direct question right out of the gate. Are you waiting to feel confident? Just be honest with yourself for a second. Think about a major goal you have cooking right now. Maybe it's a new career path, a big creative project, or just a massive personal milestone. Are you stuck in that paralyzing trap of needing to feel 100% ready before you make a move? Because according to our source material, this exact waiting period, it's literally the single biggest trap of human potential.
Section 1. The Great Confidence Myth.
Okay, let's dive into this. We are going to completely dismantle society's biggest misconception about getting started. The core of our text tackles this massive, widespread illusion. On one side, we've got the myth, confidence before action. It's this idea that confidence is a strict prerequisite, like it's some magical ingredient you absolutely have to gather up before you're allowed to start. But then, look at the reality presented here. Confidence because of action. The text states incredibly clearly that confidence doesn't come before action, it comes because of it. It is strictly a byproduct. You don't just gather it up sitting in a waiting room somewhere, you generate it through the literal friction of moving forward.
And that leads us to this incredibly heavy line from the text. Most people wait until they feel confident to start. There's a real tragedy in that observation, isn't there? Think about the logic we literally just established. If confidence only comes because of action, but you're waiting for confidence to take action, well, you're trapped in an impossible loop. Waiting around for an elusive feeling of readiness that's never going to spontaneously show up is exactly what keeps most people permanently stuck. It's like waiting for a train at an airport. It's just not coming.
Section 2. The Anatomy of Success.
And this brilliantly illustrates how achievement actually works in the real world. Let's look at the actual undeniable starting points of the people we look up to the most. Every single successful person, they started as a beginner. Every expert was inexperienced, and every winner was doubted. The text tells us unequivocally that inexperience and external doubt are universal starting points. They are not disqualifiers. Literally, every expert you've ever admired started out in that very raw, very unpolished beginner phase.
So how exactly do you cross that bridge from permanent beginner to successful expert? The source spells it out right here. They took the first step even when they weren't ready. The only real difference between those two states we just looked at is the willingness to initiate action without feeling completely ready. They felt the profound lack of readiness, They felt their own inexperience and they stepped forward anyway. Action was the absolute only bridge between those 2 points in their life.
Section 3. The Action Learning Cycle.
So the crucial point is right here in this 4-step process. We're mapping out the actual mechanical process of how lasting confidence is constructed over time. This is the literal architecture of action. Confidence is built by Step 1, trying. Step 2, failing. Step 3, learning. And Step 4, trying again. I really want to emphasize Step 2 here, fail. Think about learning to ride a bike. You don't read a book about bicycles to get confident, right? You get on, you wobble, and you inevitably fall down. That's Step 2. Then you figure out your balance in Step 3 and you pedal again. In this framework, failure isn't a glitch in the system. It's a built-in, absolutely essential gear in the machine. You literally cannot get to learning without failing first. You extract the data from the failure, you learn from it, and you try again with that new information. This continuous, kind of messy loop is the only manufacturing plant for genuine confidence.
Section 4. The Other Side of Fear.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it isolates the single antagonist that disrupts this whole cycle of action. The source text completely recontextualizes fear. It notes that successful people simply didn't let fear make their decisions. Notice what it doesn't say. It doesn't say they didn't feel fear. It defines fear not as an emotion you have to somehow conquer or destroy or banish before you start, but simply as a bad advisor. Fear is just that annoying backseat driver you need to tune out. You can totally feel the fear sitting right next to you. You just can't hand it the steering wheel. Which brings us to the ultimate clear-cut mandate of this entire philosophy. Stop waiting for confidence, take action.
I mean, it's imperative. It's a command based on all the undeniable logic we just walked through together. If confidence is a reward for action and fear is just an advisor you can simply choose to ignore, then waiting around is completely illogical. The time to act is right now, exactly in your current state of unreadiness. The life you want is on the other side of the step you're afraid to take. Just let that heavy reality sink in for a second. Everything you desire, the goals, the expertise, the success we talked about earlier, it is all waiting just past your hesitation. The barrier between you and that life isn't a lack of ability, and it absolutely isn't a lack of confidence. The only true barrier is that single, frightening first step. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative question to wrap up our explainer today. What is your first step? Not your 10th step, not the perfectly polished finished product, just the very first terrifying, unready step. I'm challenging you today. Stop waiting for a feeling of readiness that just isn't coming. Use the architecture we just explored. Step into the inexperience. Expect the failure. Extract the lesson, and go build your own lasting confidence. Thanks for diving into this with me, and seriously, I encourage you to go take that step today.